Welcome in. It is the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. I don't even care which episode it is, but we'll just call
112.
this the Michigan is the national champion episode. How does that sound, boys? What a ride. What a journey it's been in 2020. It was some dark, gloomy days. It felt like the Michigan football program was dead. There was some brain thoughts that crossed through my brain that I wanted Harbaugh gone, and I thought they should have went with Chris Kleiman. If Harbaugh were to leave, I still think Chris Kleiman would be a tremendous hire, and it would be awesome coaching my alma mater to my favorite college football team. And it was dark. It felt like Michigan was gonna be dead. They were never gonna win a national title. They were never going to win a Big Ten championship. They were never going to beat Ohio State again. And after that 2-4 season, the 2020 COVID season, Ward Manuel sat Jim Harbaugh down in his office, gave him an ultimatum that you have to change or you're gone. And he made some tremendous changes to his staff, bringing in Mike Hart, bringing in Ron Bellamy, bringing in Mike McDonald, just to name a few. He got himself right. And Grant, I don't know if you remember this, but I texted you when Harbaugh had his first preseason press conference. He looked thinner. He looked a little bit more energetic. And I said, is it weird that I think Michigan's going to have a good season and surprise some people this year? And he said he was down to his playing weight. And just by what I was reading, I was feeling very confident, very positive. Even back in spring ball or in the spring, I was down in Deadwood. I ran into some guys that had Michigan hats on. We were celebrating Michigan just clinching the Big Ten title in basketball that night after they beat Michigan State. Oh boy, we won't discuss that. That's another program that needs to make a comeback. But we were saying that we liked the changes that they made, bringing in Mike Hart, yada, yada, yada. I already said that. And at Big Ten Media Days, Jim Harbaugh goes up at the podium and says, we're going to beat Ohio State or we're going to die trying. And oh boy, did all of the Michigan haters have their way with that, laughing at him, pointing at him, mocking him, saying he's delusional. Pete Feinbaum saying that there's something wrong in his brain, that he will never be able to beat Ohio State. And since that quote, he has gone 40-3 with 3 Big Ten championships, 3-0 versus Ohio State, and now a national championship.
Who are the 3 losses there, actually? Obviously,
Michigan State, Georgia, and TCU.
That's right. That game was in Lansing, right?
Yep.
That's right.
A questionable Aiden Hutchinson.
Was that roughing the passer call?
No, it was a strip sack that they said he was down, but it was what the ref called, whatever.
What the
ref got him over the top, got him over to beat Ohio State. And what's crazy is all the congratulations that I have gotten, and people reaching out to me like I did something, like I was part of the team and I should be getting a championship ring. And, I guess my mom's not wrong about a lot of things. But all those years of me yelling at the TV for the team to play better has finally paid off with a national title. And, I could. And and Grant, also thank you to you for being my emotional support friend through all these vigorous games throughout the season. And I could address all the haters, all the naysayers, all the criers. I could talk about how Michigan State, their program is so bad they have paid a coach who's just a terrible, disgusting human being, and their program is down so bad they had to resort to picking up a below average FCS quarterback who was ran out of town because the fan base was sick of him.
A hockey fan base.
Yeah, I could talk about the Notre Dame fans, who their most meaningful win in the past 15 years as beating a 7-5 team who can't even tackle a school of the deaf and the blind if they were playing them. I could talk about the Georgia fans who, Georgia would have beat Michigan by 4 scores. Well, you couldn't even beat Alabama and Nick Saban. And you know what? Michigan killed Nick Saban. So you're welcome, SEC. And everybody in Michigan wanted their shot at Georgia, and they would have beaten Georgia. But I guess we'll never know what Georgia would have brought because they couldn't beat Alabama and a dead coach. I could talk about Ohio State, about how their only claim, the only reason Michigan was winning was because they knew their signals. And so much that Ryan Day had to cry to the NCAA and the Big Ten about thinking that, if I can just get Jim Harbaugh out of there, I've got him. Well, you know what? The program, the team, Ryan, is much bigger than any one person. And they played man football and bullied you the last 3 years, made you look like a bunch of little girls, so much that your star receiver that's going to be a top 5 pick showed up to the Heisman ceremony wearing a frickin' purse. Okay? You guys are little boys. The Big Ten, Michigan plays man football, and that's how it's going to be. So I could take that road, but I'm not gonna. My mom always told me to be humble. So I'm going to use this time to celebrate with the Michigan alum, my fellow Michigan fans, and enjoy this moment with them rather than listening to the rat poison that all those outlying teams do, because we've endured a lot. We've endured Rich Rod. We've endured the Brady Hoke years. We've endured losing to Appalachian State in Toledo and all other sorts of painful losses, the Ohio State losses, the trouble with the snap game, the 2016 game where JT was short. All of those games made this championship feel that much sweeter. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the coaches. I'm happy for the university because put the naysayers to rest, and it's Michigan holding up the national title like I said they would at the start of the year.
So where's what NFL job is Harbaugh getting?
I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just still trying to enjoy the win here, and we will cross that bridge when we get there. Jim Harbaugh, as far as I'm concerned, they should put a statue up of him. They could name this field at Michigan Stadium Harbaugh Field. It was just a incredible journey. Whatever he chooses to do, I will be happy and support him and be cheering for him no matter who he is coaching for.
Hey, but Dylan, there is one thing in the college football playoff era with 4 teams in that Ohio State did that Michigan never did.
Oh yeah, what's that?
That was lose a national championship game.
That's right. That is right. You know what's something? Michigan State, they also made the playoff, but they scored about as many points as Rutgers
in the University
Maryland
of Iowa
did. Yeah. I'm not gonna kick Iowa while they're down. They've endured enough. But looking at the passing stats, looking at the stats from the previous games, Iowa threw for more yards against Michigan than Alabama did. So it begs the question, is Iowa better than Alabama?
So hold on. You're telling me Brian Ferentz is going to get the head job in Alabama now?
At least the OC.
At least the OC.
There is some connections there. Nick Saban and Kirk Ferentz did work on staff together.
They did work together
with the Cleveland Browns. So you can't rule it out until anything is official.
And I don't know if this was true or not, but there was a rumor that I made up that actually Kirk Ferentz deserves a national championship ring from Alabama's 2017 season from that whooping Iowa put on at Ohio State at Kinnick in November.
That was
correct.
fun.
That was the 2017 game, and Ethan was there. He got to watch it in person.
Ethan was there. I wanted to go to that game, but Dylan, being the devout Michigan fan, says the only time I'll ever see Ohio State play is if they play Michigan. hindsight is always 2020, but that year we went to the wrong game.
We did.
One time that stadium physically shook
Shook.
was that first touchdown by Armani Hooker, first play of the game, pick six.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, if I do
Yep,
remember,
yep.
Grant, you and I, we were talking during that. We were watching that game. We were talking on the phone watching that game, and we both jumped up with excitement when he picked that off and took that to the house.
Correct. A fun fact for you guys. Fun story here. 2 times during that football season, fall of 2017, winter of 2018, we were living in the apartment at the time. Have I jumped off the couch in the Verge building and onto the coffee table? The Amani Hooker play, and then the Stephon Diggs Minneapolis Miracle play. I physically jumped onto the coffee table during both of those games.
both deservedly so to jump on a coffee table, I would say.
Correct.
So, but guys, let's dissect this game a little bit here. This was Joe Klatt has referred to Michigan as a boa constrictor all season, and that's kind of how this game felt. Tremendous defensive effort by the Wolverines. They didn't get many. I think they got 1 sack on the night, but they were continuously finding ways to get pressure on him, making Penix uncomfortable. You could tell because he missed a lot of throws that he normally makes, but he got happy feet. He felt pressure when there really wasn't pressure. Michigan did, I thought, a good job of mixing up coverages. And they limited explosive plays, which was the key that we all talked about into this game. They had 1 play of 45 yards. And Michigan, the last couple of games, including the Ohio State game, the Iowa game, it was everybody knew Michigan was going to win that game. So they didn't really get out to a fast start. The playoff game, first play was an interception that got called back. Then they didn't get a first down. Then they fumble the punt return. Michigan got off to a fast start. Donovan Edwards picked a tremendous time to have his coming out party. In 23, two runs of 40+ yards in the first quarter really brought that crowd to life, got the sideline going. And then Michigan gets the ball back again, and they're driving again. And I think if the quarter doesn't end, as weird as it sounds, I think they still get a touchdown. I think going to a quarter break maybe just kind of killed that momentum, kind of brought that juice down. Washington was able to make a couple of adjustments. But, it was a game for me that, as tense as I was, I don't know if I would want to say I was nervous, but I was tense because there's always that little bit of doubt because, as I've mentioned, the 2016 Ohio State game, losing to Iowa in 2016, the trouble with the snap, yada, all those, there's still always that little bit of doubt that that we just haven't seen him get over the hump yet. But with the way the defense was playing, I was never truly nervous, crapping my pants nervous, because the worst thing that they could do at any point in the game was tie Michigan, and Michigan would get the ball back. And, the offense stalled for about 2 quarters, 2.5. And, JJ didn't probably play his best game, but similar to what he did against Alabama, when he needed to make plays, he did it. You look back at the 3rd and 8, backed up on their own goal line. He scrambles for 20 yards to get a first down, to get them out of the shadow of their own end zone, because that's when it turned into a bit of a field position game. And they ended up punting, but that set up better field position. And then the drive after that, they went out, and credit to Sherrone Moore. I mean, you can't talk enough about the job he has done there as a play caller. If Harbaugh were to leave, I think that's the easy choice. And the other part of him taking over being the head coach for those last 3 games, he was managing 3 different jobs with 3 of the 4 most highly stressful positions as a coach. Is you're the offensive line coach because you're going to win and lose. You're going to take the blame if you lose, get all the credit if you win. More than likely, you're going to be the butt of the jokes. He was calling the plays, and he was being a head coach. That is not an easy job to do, managing all 3, and he did a tremendous job. and they got to drive when they had to. They go up 2 scores. They go up 2 scores with 7 minutes left, and Mikey Sainristil gets the interception. Just another gritty team guy. When you think of a Michigan man, you think of Mikey Sainristil because was a receiver. His first 2 years he came on was in the program and switched over last year, and all he's done is make plays. Gives me some serious Jordan Lewis vibes. I don't think I've hardly ever seen him miss a tackle. Always there. Never lets the guys get away from him. And it was just an incredible effort, and crazy to think that 3 short years ago, a good handful of Michigan fans wanted Harbaugh gone just to see the program, the culture shift, and believing in each other and accountability. And you could tell that how much love the players had for everybody on that team. They talked about it after the Rose Bowl game, how one of the reporters was saying how she noticed that the first things they were saying to each other is that they loved each other. And that's a tough team to beat when you guys are there truly is selfless football, playing for each other and playing for one another.
Well, I was wrong on pretty much everything I said. So I mean, kudos to Michigan there. But I legitimately did think when Washington closed it to 17-10 right before half that they were going to win. I thought Michigan had kind of screwed the pooch there. They kind of played with their food, I guess you could say, at first. But they came back. They made the play, obviously, at the beginning of the second half and rolled from there. It never really was in question after that.
Yeah, that was a huge play to kind of gain back momentum. They only got a field goal out of it. But, I mean, just to get point, that's a potentially a 10-point swing there, because if they go down and get a touchdown – it's a tie game, but Michigan was able to get a field goal, make it to 2 possessions, and then they just they refused to give up anything big. And Washington had a couple of chances, and Penix just missed them.
Well, yeah, and at that point, guys, Washington kind of finally realized, Michigan's playing us deep. They're not going to let us get these big shots, get these chunk plays. Michigan said, you know what? Hey, we're not going to let Washington beat us deep. It's what the Chiefs had to adjust to in 2021, and Washington finally realized, hey, let's dump it off to the fullback. Let's dump it off to the tight end or the running back. And if we got to go 7, 10 yards of play and just slowly take our time down the field, that's what we got to do. But then, the interception happens, Michigan gets that field goal, and they get the lead again. And you just felt Washington then realized, you know what, we need to start catching up with these guys, because they're not going to let us. If we do that, we're going to go take up way too much time. But then also at that point, Washington's defense, they couldn't stop Michigan. They couldn't stop that running game. Michigan, like you said, Dylan, boa constrictor, they're just going to lean, and they're going to wear you out. And you could tell they had that confidence after that field goal that they were going to be able to do that, all game. And kind of everything like what I said happened. I thought Jesse Minter and his staff with that NFL background was going to use a variety of different coverages and having pressure coming from, anywhere and everywhere that Washington's O-line wasn't going to be able to hold up, and Penix was going to get hit. Like you said, Dylan, you get hit enough times as a quarterback, you start seeing ghosts. And then when someone's actually 3 steps away from you, you think they're a step away from you because you're worried about getting hit again. And it doesn't help that Michael Penix is a smaller framed quarterback. You're taking shots from these big 4th and 5th year senior defensive linemen from Michigan who are just big, strong men. It wears on you mentally with that. And then also Washington's right tackle he was getting just beat like an absolute war drum in that game. 73. He was a liability there. And most of the time you're like, it's the right tackle. It's whatever. That's Penix's blind side. He can't see the pressure coming from backside. And when you see that happening, it just wears on you. And, kind of like what we said, Dylan, Michigan, they were just bigger, faster, and stronger. And they're just going to wear on you. And eventually your will to live is going to break. And it broke in the 4th quarter there. And, they ran away with this thing. and people can say, oh, Michigan had almost 300 yards rushing, and 3 of them were on, the 40-yard touchdown runs, and then Corum 60-yarder. Well, on every other carry, they still got a total of 162 yards on the ground. So they dominated the front all game, and I can't say I'm surprised in what happened.
Yeah. Well, Mark Schlereth talks about this all the time because he'll have teams contact him about wanting to help out in their run game, and he'll call him out and say, "Do you guys really want to run the ball?" "Yeah, we want to run the ball." "Well, do you really want to run the ball? Because you guys will run the ball 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, and then you'll just abandon it and say, "Oh, we can't get anything going." But you'll throw 3 straight passes, 3 incomplete, and you'll still stick with the pass. The run game, I mean, the explosive plays are a luxury, especially early on in the game. You can't just rely and expect that to happen all the time, because that's just not the way football works. You especially early on, is go where you're supposed to go. If you're the running back, take those 3-4 yards, because those continuous 3-4 yards a pop wears on a defensive line and tires them out, because and keeping them on the field for those 10, 15 play drives, that is a lot more exhausting. They give up one big play. It's, oh, hey, we gave up a big play. Let's go get them the next time, because you're not going to get a 60-yard play every time. Unless you're playing USC's defense, then you might. But most normal football, and if you're playing in the college football playoff, there's a good chance that you have a respectable defense.
Correct. And also, coming into this game, this was kind of, I think, a problem Washington's had all year. In their first meeting, Oregon was big and physical with them, and they got them moving. And everyone else throughout the game, they were playing all these one-possession games with Washington, where their rush defense was a little suspect. We saw Texas in the second half, in the semifinal game, get 7 yards a carry at ease whenever they wanted to. They just had 2 big turnovers, and Texas's defense led up the big play. So coming into this, we knew Michigan had the advantage, and this was a Washington weakness. And Michigan exploited that. It was the perfect game plan for them. It was the perfect game for them, and they executed it perfectly.
Yeah. Well, and like with the Oregon thing, a lot of Oregon's run game is based up off of RPOs, where you're basically doing pre-snap reads of the defense, and you can take those runs away, where all you're doing is you're taking the run away, so they're gonna throw it, and you can live with a 3-4 yard screen pass.
Correct.
And that's where Oregon messed up is they were too RPO heavy, and they just didn't have enough designed runs to counter it, because if Oregon decided we're just going to play run through your mouth football, I think Oregon is the one playing for a national title. But
100%.
But and the other part too is the Dillon Johnson injury played a huge factor in that game. Him being hurt, not being able to be 100% definitely changed, because they weren't after him. They didn't have the running back depth to trust anyone to run the ball, or somebody that could go and get 4 or 5 yards a pop.
Which is kind of crazy to think. That's like one of the deeper positions you would think, but yet they had nobody that was even somewhat capable.
Well, two years ago, this is Kalen DeBoer's only his second year at Washington. The year before that, they had Jimmy Lake, and I mean that was a 4-8 team, and there's a reason he got fired. So, I think that Washington's not going anywhere. I think Kalen DeBoer, he is a program culture builder, and he's going to build that thing up to where they're going to get on that top level. I firmly believe, because everywhere Kalen DeBoer has gone, he has won, and he's done it that way. So I think the best is yet to come for Washington, and I still think there's plenty more for Michigan.